Hi guys. We're going to be doing this lecture this week for our comprehensive medical terminology. We're going to be talking about the digestive system. So this is a pretty long lecture, so it'll probably be cut into 2 or 3 different parts, but I will label them accordingly. So the digestive system, when we start to talk about that, we may think of the gastrointestinal system or the gastrointestinal tract. Um, so it's about 30 feet long and it begins in our mouth, which is our oral cavity, right? So, exactly what you're thinking, right? Our lips, our teeth, our tongue, our cheeks, that's our oral cavity. And then it ends in the anus. The functions of the digestive system are to prepare our food for absorption into the bloodstream. So everything we eat has something in it, right? Whether that be a vitamin or a mineral or fat or carb or whatever, sugar, all of that stuff. So part of our digestive system function is to prepare the food to be absorbed into the bloodstream. It prepares the food for use by the body cells, and it's responsible for the elimination of solid wastes from the body or poop, right? Yeah, everybody likes to talk about poop. All right. So the oral cavity or the buccal cavity, this includes our lips, our cheeks, our hard palate, our soft palate, our uvula. Okay, so the uvula, super crappy, horrible song that's out right now, but it talks about that dangly thing in the back of your throat. That's what a uvula is. The tongue, which is the principal organ of the sense of taste. And your tongue also assists in chewing or mastication and swallowing. Okay, so mastication, like I always think of a cow, right? Because a cow can like chew on its cud for days and days and days, but what they call it is masticating. It's masticating. But that just means chewing. All right, so this is a little diagram of the mouth. So we have the upper lip, right? The gingiva, which are your gums. So if somebody told you or you heard the word gingivitis, what would that tell you? Remember what itis means? Gingivitis means inflammation of the gingiva or the gums. Okay, these are the incisors. Central incisors, which are your 2 front teeth, your lateral incisors, okay, and then your cuspids. Okay, so there's all these different types of teeth that we have. So we have these teeth that are like razors that kind of cut food or pull apart food, right? And then we have these flatter teeth back here, these molars, premolars and molars that help to kind of grind that food down. These are your tonsils, right? These are the insides of your cheeks, your tongue. On your tongue, you have taste buds, right? Then we have this lower lip here. Let's see, this is the uvula or that dangly thing, right? This is a soft palate here in the back. So if you feel with your tongue, you can feel it's kind of soft and like a little bit pliable, right? And then this is your hard palate right up at the top. Okay. And this is the oropharynx, which is the very beginning part of the throat. Okay. So we have salivary glands. So we have 3 pair of these. We have the parotids, the submandibulars, and the sublinguals. So submandibulars, those are going to be by the mandible, right? Or under the mandible. And then we have the sublinguals, which is under the tongue. These secrete saliva. Saliva is mostly water, but it contains mucus and digestive enzymes also that help to start the digestive process in the mouth. Digestive enzymes are contained in the saliva. So we have that amylase, which aids in the digestion of carbohydrates, and lipase, which aids in the digestion of fats. And then we have our pharynx. So this is known as the throat. It serves as a passageway for both the respiratory and the digestive system. So we breathe through, right, the pharynx, and we also swallow with the pharynx. So we have the oropharynx, which I just pointed out a minute ago. This is a section leading away from the oral cavity. So it's just that beginning part of the throat. The nasopharynx, which is behind the nasal cavity. And then we have the laryngopharynx, which is the lower portion. So it opens into the esophagus and the larynx. The esophagus, anybody watch I think, what is it called? Masters in Disguise. He says esophagus, right? This receives the food from the pharynx and it propels it to the stomach. So your esophagus is full of these little muscles, right? So if you've ever had like got something stuck whenever you eat or something like that, sometimes you can feel those muscles kind of trying to work that food or whatever it is down into your stomach. Then we have the cardiac sphincter. So this is the lower esophageal sphincter. So it controls the passage of food from the esophagus into the stomach. So when it's relaxed, the food can enter the stomach. And when it contracts, the stomach contents are prevented from re-entering the esophagus. So a time that might happen, right? So if that cardiac sphincter is working exactly like it's supposed to, right? Sometimes we can kind of force it open, like whenever we're vomiting, right? If somebody's ever been sick and vomited, you know that kind of comes back up through that same way it went down, right? So then we have the stomach. So the upper rounded portion of the stomach is called the fundus. The central part of the stomach is called the body. And then the lower, like tubular area that starts to lead into the intestines is called the pylorus. Okay. We do have a pyloric sphincter, which regulates passage of food from the stomach into the duodenum, which is the beginning part of the intestines. And then we have these rugae, which are the folds in the mucous membranes of the stomach, which looks kind of, I don't know, they might show a picture here in just a minute. And then, we kind of all know this, that we have gastric juices that break down the food in the stomach. And then there's a muscular action of the stomach that causes it to churn, right? So it churns that food, so it's constantly moving. So it mixes the food with those different secretions so it can get broken down. Chyme is what is referred to as the liquid-like mixture of partially digested food and digestive secretions. It's released in small amounts through the pyloric sphincter into the small intestine. Yum, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so this is kind of what the stomach looks like. These are those rugae, those little folds in that muscle membrane, right? So this is the fundus, okay? This is the body of the stomach, and then this is the pylorus, kind of starting to go into the small intestine. And then that pyloric sphincter is right here. So this opens and closes, okay? All right. So the small intestine is approximately 20 feet long. It's also known as the small bowel. It's divided into 3 different parts. So we have the duodenum, the gingium, and the ileum. So this completes the digestive process through absorption, which is increased by the presence of villi. So large intestine, we have the cecum. So this is the appendix. The appendix hangs from the lower portion of the cecum. And then we have the ascending colon and the transverse colon. The large intestine contains the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, the rectum, and the anus. So, all right, so here's the esophagus, the end part of the esophagus, the body and fundus of the stomach. Okay, here's that pyloric sphincter. And then this starts to go into the duodenum. Okay, and then it goes into all of these different parts of the intestines. Here's that jejunum. Here's that ileum. Here's the cecum. That's the appendix there. Okay, so that's kind of all how it looks there. All right, so this is the larger intestine. So here's that appendix, okay, and the ileum, the ascending colon, okay, the splenic flexure, the descending. So ascending meaning up, descending meaning down, right? The sigmoid colon, the rectum, and the anus, okay. So true or false? This 30-foot digestive system from mouth to anus breaks down food into what the body can use and get rid of what it cannot. Think of the wording of that. So question, true or false? This 30-foot digestive system from mouth to anus breaks down food into what the body can use and gets rid of what it cannot. That is true. Good. So food must be broken down into a cellular level for us to be able to get any benefit from it. All right, and then we have the liver. So this is located immediately under the diaphragm, slightly to the right. It only has one digestive function. It produces bile, and that helps to emulsify fats in the small intestine. Additional functions of the liver, it excretes bile pigments into the bile. It helps you to synthesize vitamin K, helps with amino acids, carbohydrate, and fat metabolism. Liver cells are, it helps with phagocytosis, which means that good cells eating bad cells, basically. And then detoxification, and then it definitely is a storage, kind of like a storage unit for vital nutrients. Okay. And then we have the gallbladder. I've had my gallbladder removed. I don't know if anybody else has. It's a pear-shaped sac. It's located under the surface of the liver. The main function of the gallbladder is to store and concentrate bile produced by the liver. And then it releases bile in response to the presence of fatty content of the food present in the duodenum, and it helps to emulsify that fat. So if you eat something super fatty, let's say you had a big breakfast with lots of bacon and toast with butter and eggs cooked in bacon fat or something like that, right? When those fatty parts of the food start to go into the duodenum, start to be digested, then your gallbladder releases bile to be able to emulsify that fat. Then we have our pancreas. This is located in the upper left quadrant of the abdomen behind the stomach. The functions of this exocrine gland is to help manufacture digestive juices. So it kind of makes all of these different digestive juices that helps to break down different parts of the food, right? So we have this trypsin, which it helps to break down proteins, pancreatic lipase, which breaks down fat, pancreatic amylase, which breaks down carbohydrates, and then sodium bicarbonate, which helps to neutralize acidic stomach content. So your stomach is really, really acidic. Okay. Excuse me again. So functions, the pancreas functions as an endocrine gland to manufacture insulin and glucagon. Okay, so insulin is a hormone that makes it possible for glucose or sugar, that's what glucose is, to pass from the blood through cell membranes to be used for energy. Okay, and then insulin, it also promotes the conversion of excess glucose into glycogen. Okay, so glucagon is a hormone that stimulates the liver to convert glycogen, into glucose when it's needed. Your teeth, the primary responsibility of your pretty pearly whites is to masticate. So it's helping you chew, right? Food is ground by the teeth and softened by saliva. So your primary teeth, you have a set of 20 teeth, usually start to appear around the age of 6 months old. So those are your baby teeth, okay? And then your secondary teeth or your permanent teeth or your big teeth, right, begin to appear around the age of 6. You have your incisors, so these are chisel shaped with a sharp edge for biting food. Your canine or your cuspid teeth are useful for grasping and tearing food. And then your bicuspids or your premolars and molars have a flat surface. And there's multiple little parts that come out of them or projections from those teeth. And that helps in crushing and grinding food. Parts of your teeth. So the crown part of your tooth is the visible part of your tooth. It's covered in enamel, and enamel is the hardest substance in the body, right? The neck of the tooth lies just beneath the gum line. And then there's the root, which is embedded into the bony socket of the jawbone. And then the root canal or the pulp cavity. And this is the central core or the center part of the tooth. So question, the ducts from the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas all converge to empty into what part of the digestive tract? Is it the stomach, the colon, the duodenum, or the esophagus? The ducts from the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas all converge to empty into what part of the digestive tract? It's C, the duodenum. So it's the duodenum is the first part of the small intestine where digestion is completed and nutrients can be passed to the bloodstream. All right, so here's the accessory organs of digestion. Here's the gallbladder, right? This is called a cystic duct. This is the common bile duct, okay? And then we have the hepatic duct, which helps to go to the liver, right? This is the liver. This is the duodenum. This is the pancreas, okay? So if anybody's ever had gallbladder problems or gallstones, sometimes you can pass those stones. So it would go from the gallbladder into the cystic duct and then down into your stomach. So that might, if you've ever had your gallbladder out and they said that like you were passing stones or whatever, that's kind of what that means. So common signs and symptoms that are related to the digestive system, we have alchlorhydria. So this is an abnormal condition characterized by the absence of hydrochloric acid in the gastric juices. We have anorexia. So when you hear the word anorexia, I know everybody probably thinks of the eating disorder, right? But the technical term of anorexia just means lack or loss of appetite. So this results in the inability to eat. We have aphasia. So this is a condition characterized by the loss of the ability to swallow as a result of organic or psychologic causes. And we have ascites, right, or ascites. This is an abnormal accumulation of fluid within the peritoneal cavity. So the fluid usually contains large amounts of protein and electrolytes. And then we have borborygmus. Borborygmus, sure. So that's an audible abdominal sound produced by hyperactive intestinal peristalsis. Let's see. So this is rumbling, gurgling noises heard when listening with a stethoscope. We can have constipation, which is the difficulty in passing feces or an incomplete or infrequent passage of hard feces. Diarrhea. This is the frequent passage of loose or watery feces. We have dyspepsia. So this is a vague feeling of epigastric discomfort after eating. It usually involves an uncontrollable feeling of fullness, heartburn, bloating, and nausea. And we have dysphagia, which is the difficulty in swallowing. It's commonly associated with obstructive or motor disorders of the esophagus. So question, this symptom may be relieved with Tums or Prilosec over the counter. What do you guys think? B, also known as heartburn. So that would be dyspepsia. I always think of Pepsid, right? Whenever I hear this word. All right, so emaciation, so that is the excessive leanness caused, emaciation. I said that wrong. I'm sorry. So this is the excessive leanness caused by disease or lack of nutrition. We have emesis. So this is vomiting, basically, or the material that's expelled when we vomit from the stomach. And then we have eructation. So this is the act of bringing up air from the stomach with a belching sound through the mouth, or burping. Such fancy words, huh? Then we have flatulence. So this is air or gas from the intestine that's passed through the rectum. Or we have GERD, or gastroesophageal reflux. So this is the backflow of stomach contents into the esophagus, often the result of incompetence of the lower esophageal sphincter. And then we have icterus. This is a yellowish discoloration of the skin, mucous membranes, and sclera of the eyes. It's caused by greater than normal amounts of bilirubin in the blood. It's also called jaundice. Then we have melena, which this is the abnormal black tarry stool containing digested blood. We have nausea, which is the unpleasant sensation often leading to the urge to vomit. And then we have pruritus ani, which is the common chronic condition of itching of the skin around the anus. And then we have steatorrhea, which is the greater than normal amounts of fat in the feces. It's characterized by frothy, foul-smelling fecal matter that floats. Then we have vomit. This is to expel the contents of the stomach through the esophagus and out of the mouth. So true or false, nausea can lead to eructation and vomiting, which produces icterus. Fun words. That's false. So vomitus, or more commonly known as emesis, is the result of vomiting, and icterus is jaundice. All right, so I'm going to stop this right here and cut this into part 1. So look for part 2 coming up.